Sober Ladies, and welcome to the Confident Sober Women Facebook group. And we are going to dive into 5 ways to take control of your stress or overwhelm triggers. If you missed it, on Monday we were live and we talked all about how to identify those things, or what I'm calling triggers, that really cause you stress and overwhelm and even anxiety. So, we all have them. We talked about taking an inventory and really recognizing what's going on right before you start to have the stress, what's happening during, what's happening after. We also especially talked about tuning in with what's going on with your body. If you missed that conversation on Monday, it was a video just like this in the feed on Monday. So I would encourage you to go check that out. And today we're literally going to talk about 5 ways to deal with those triggers. So some actual practical skills and tools you can put into place right now and throughout the next few days as you begin to learn what your triggers are and then how do we deal with them. Okay? If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below and I'll be happy to answer them as quickly as I can. Okay, so the first one that I really want to address with you guys is checking your expectations. Having realistic expectations of people and situations is really important to help maintain your joy and just a general lower stress level. So, our expectations can come from family, from peers, and most especially from ourselves. So many of us struggle with the expectation of perfectionism and the pressures that are associated with kind of keeping up with the Joneses, if you will. And we want to be able to um, check those at the door, right? We want to keep up, we want to be able to check in to see if our perceptions of what others are doing around us is realistic or if it's just kind of a fantasy, right? And when you're enduring a lot of stress, or maybe you're just managing life, these little check ins with our expectations will really help you and help yourself and others when you're in these situations, okay? So maybe you're expecting certain things from certain people in your life, and when they repeatedly have shown you that they are not going to do those things, or say those things, or pay for those things, if they've repeatedly shown you that and you continue to kind of expect that, you're going to be disappointed, right? So those kind of unmet expectations will really lead to a lot of disappointment. And then that will, of course, lead to more stress over time and can feel very overwhelming. So we do want to really check our expectations of either people and or situations. This goes for positive things too. I mean, sometimes we just came through the holiday time, and I know I talked about this before that. We can put a lot of expectation on how our holiday experience, or maybe like a vacation or anything, how it's going to go, right? We could be like, this is going to be so magical. I'm going to get these great pictures. We're going to have all this fun time and make memories. And the realism of it all is, we've got screaming toddlers and teenagers who won't come out of their bedrooms and people who are ungrateful and nobody helps. And, there might be a lot of joy burst in there, but the reality of the situation might be very different than the sort of glorified image and fantasy that you have of that particular event. So we want to check our expectations, because having unrealistic expectations, particularly those that are continuously unmet, is going to lead to a lot of stress. Number 2 is managing uncertainty. Uncertainty is a huge part of life, right? We are constantly dealing with change. We're constantly dealing with things that are out of our control, from the weather, from sickness, from to things at work, all kinds of stuff, traffic. I mean, things in our daily life are very unexpected, right? We might have a plan, we're executing it, we're doing our part, and then wham, something in life just happens and completely throws that off. So, unexpected events and situations will occur daily, right? At least on some level. And most of which we cannot control. So this is not only stressful, but it can also lead you down the path of self destruction with really unhealthy coping skills like overeating, kind of numbing out with social media, or really a lot of procrastination. So learning to expect the unexpected and become really comfortable with that And the fact that you won't know the next move of everything in your life is going to eventually bring you peace. So you sort of get really kind of accepting of the fact that, yeah, like you might get a phone call from your kid in the middle of the day who's been in an accident, or you might have a parent that disappoints you because they don't want to do something that you want to do, or any number of things at work, like again, things with the weather, things with plans that get canceled. COVID has been an excellent example of this. There's been a lot of unexpected events, and they continue to happen as people have to cancel things for a variety of reasons. Yesterday in the podcast, I talked to Dana Bowman, and she is, first of all, she's hilarious. She's super real, and it was just a great episode. And one of the things that she talked about as a trigger for her stress is unexpected, things that are unexpected. Uncertainty is the way she used it. And she talked about the uncertainty of the last 2 years and how stressful that was for her. So if you didn't listen to it, check it out on wherever you listen to podcasts. Her name is Dana Bowman. It was yesterday's episode in the Confident Sober Women podcast. You're not going to be disappointed. It was so good. So when we are dealing with a lot of these uncertainty and unexpected events, we can begin to worry kind of in an effort to figure things out, right? So adopting the idea that your need for certainty cannot be satisfied no matter what you do, right? Kind of visualize yourself letting go of certainty, really releasing it from you and allowing it to kind of float off into the universe. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that we don't make a plan. Of course, we make a plan. We make a plan, and then we know that very often our best plans get messed up. That's all. It's just being able to learn to expect that uncertainty will be a part of our daily life, some at high levels, some at regular levels, and to just begin to almost expect it. The other trigger for stress and overwhelming anxiety is our own feelings. So when we begin to get triggered by anything, and then you start to have lots of feelings of stress, anxiety, maybe sadness, and anger, you need to remind yourself that it is totally okay to feel what you're feeling. Acceptance of the feelings is the solution, not ignoring them. And sometimes we almost need to give ourselves permission to have these feelings. Have you ever felt like that? Like, we just need somebody to be like, it's okay for you to be angry about this. And if you're coming from a situation or an experience from your past, I mean, if these feelings are coming from your past, it's helpful to acknowledge the difference between the past and now. We want to make sure that we can kind of teeter-totter in between both of those worlds, and remember that something happened in your past is in the past, right? And it reminds you of, or it's happening now because you've been triggered by something in your present, but you need to remind yourself that it already happened. It isn't happening now, even though it might feel like it is. We do a lot of this in trauma work in my private practice because we're dealing with some pretty serious past stuff. And so while we're working, I'm constantly saying to them, remember, we're working, this situation has already happened, but we're working on it now, to kind of have one foot in both worlds. It's not always useful if you're in the midst of a very stressful situation to consider the reasons for why this is happening. Sometimes I think that creates more anxiety. Like, why is this situation happening? I did all the things I was supposed to do. I got a good night's sleep. I ate my good foods. I've exercised today. That can just create more angst. So what I always tell people is a lot of times just need to address the situation now, acknowledge the feelings, let them be okay, and then you can always go back later, kind of circle back and check in. Why do we think that was happening? What about our day or our life or our week was contributing to that massive amount of stress? But for now, I really just want you to acknowledge it, name and accept your own feelings, and then let them be okay. Number 4 is maintaining regular routines. I can't ever speak to this enough because it really affects so many of the areas of our lives that we talk about here in Confident Sober Women, because it's just that important. I mean, maintaining regular routines creates predictability in your life, and it allows your brain to trust you. right? It establishes well-oiled routines that you don't deviate from at all. This is a definite key to peace and serenity in your own body. It's a definite key to stress and overwhelm management. And when we establish them, they become routine, right? They become part of your daily life. Like you don't even have to think about it anymore. So it's almost like your brain is on autopilot, but for these really good, positive things that you've established as healthy routines. So when we're facing times of high stress, we don't need anything else to think about. Really, like the time that you're waking up tomorrow, when will I fit in my exercise? What am I having for lunch? We don't want to have to worry about all of those things, particularly in the midst of that stressful situation. We really need that stuff that's can be very much built into your daily routines to be worked out. That's why, by the way, this is a huge part of the Sober Freedom Transformation. In my course, it's the second module of the entire course because building habits and routines are that important. And I go through and talk about a ton of different areas where that needs to be addressed in your life. But we make it in very small, sustainable ways. We make it in baby steps, right? Everybody needs to sort of work into this. So it's not like you need to do all these things right now or you fail. No, I don't work that way. I definitely encourage small baby steps so that we can create little tiny micro changes to have big transformation over time. So if you have strong routines that include physical activity, quality self-care, and food preparation, then your brain can spend its time and resources dealing with the actual situation and emotions that you're in at that moment. Establishing that solid morning and evening routine really gives you something to count on. It gives you space for reflection, prayer, reading, or other creative outlets that you might use to really calm your nervous system. That's why daily routines are so important. Again, it's a huge part of the work I do for a big reason because it's that important. Also, make sure you're getting regular physical activity in your life as part of your routine because dealing with stress, um, physical activity really helps to deal with stress, burns off that excess energy, and just gives that nervous system a little bit of an outlet. And number five is spend quality time with supportive people. One thing that is a trigger for many of us is people in our lives because a lot of them are toxic, right? When we look at the relationships we have, familial or otherwise, a lot of the people in our lives are just not good for us, right? It could be family members, friends, coworkers, and that doesn't mean that they're not good people. It just means they're not good for you. And one thing is for sure is that some people aren't for us. And that's okay, right? So learning that not everyone has your best interests in mind is super important in order to recognize who will be a trigger for you. Be sure to cut the weight of those people. We want to get rid of those who are taking more than they're contributing from your life, and then begin to connect with people who are good listeners, who are supportive and non-judgmental. All right, so really quick, just a quick review. The 5 ways to manage your stress triggers are checking your expectations, really understanding what they are, and making sure they're realistic. Number two is maintaining or manage uncertainty. We know that uncertainty is a huge part of our lives on a daily basis, so we got to begin to expect it. Number three is own your own feelings. Really allowing yourself to understand what's happening to you, give them a name, and then let them be okay. Number four, maintain regular routines. We know how important this is. That's why it's a big part of the Sober Freedom Transformation and all of the work I do. And number five is spend quality time with supportive people. So when you begin to have those stress triggers, I want you to think of these 5 things. You can write them down. You can put them in your phone. You can take a screenshot of a post-it note or whatever so that you have them at the ready and you can begin to use them every single time you get triggered by stress and overwhelm. Okay? Be on the lookout for next week. We are going to be talking about self-care. I know it's a buzzword. It's actually not my preferred buzz term, but it is the one that we most commonly use. We're going to talk about what that looks like, why it's critical in sobriety to be taking care of yourself, and then I'm going to give you 5 easy ways to care for yourself on a budget. That's next week, and I'll talk to you soon.